What is the latest at this hour on the situation in Goma and what's happening in Kinshasa, where protests have been going on?
Well, Richard, the situation in Goma is very tense. We've heard reports of fighting between government forces and their allied militias against the M23 rebels. It's still not clear who's in control of the area, because on Monday we heard that the government side pushed back the rebels from some of the areas that they had taken control of. People are living in fear. They're holed up in their houses. They do not have enough water, food. Electricity has been cut off for 5 days now. There's no internet over there. So it's a very fluid situation. People are calling on the government to come to their rescue. And in the capital, you know, this protest, the fighting in Goma has sparked protests in many parts of the DRC. Here in the capital, Kinshasa, you can see large plumes of smoke in the background there. Very many young people have taken to the streets, started burning tires. They went to the French embassy, smashed windows, burnt part of the building. They also went to the American embassy and started burning tires and throwing stones. They had to be dispersed by the police officers. Many police officers are now engaged in running battles with some of these young men who are holding sticks and stones, saying that these foreigners have been supporting the Rwandan government that is sponsoring the M23 rebels to destabilize their country and plunder their minerals. So it's a very tense situation. Some of these young men are calling on the government to give them arms, and they want a full-scale war with Rwanda. So the situation is really tense. Officials have urged people to remain calm, but it's not happening. And these protests are not only happening in Kinshasa, in other parts of the country, cities like Lubumbashi, we've heard of reports, protests happening. Some of these people, we've also seen videos shared online of protesters in Kinshasa storming the Ugandan embassy. They vandalized property in that embassy because they've also been saying that Uganda has also been supporting the M23 rebels. So it's a very tough situation in the capital, Kinshasa, and other parts of the DRC because of the entry of M23 rebels in the city of Goma. Richard?
All right, Chris, from the visuals, we can pick up that tense situation you spoke about. But let's talk about the president and his address. What's the latest on this?
Yeah, so the Speaker of Parliament announced on Monday that President Felix Tshisekedi is set to address the nation about this situation, the security crisis in Goma. He said that it's going to happen shortly, and he said they have not yet confirmed. I spoke to some people at the presidency, and they said they'll get back to us, but the president is expected to address the nation about this security crisis. And we've also heard that he spoke to the U.S. Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, who called him and discussed about this situation. He condemned the attack on the DRC's sovereignty by Rwandan forces who were backing the M23 rebels, and urged the DRC leader to resolve this conflict through dialogue. He told him to try and reinstate the Luanda process. This is a peace initiative that's being led by the Angolan president, João Lourenço, which is supposed to bring the DRC and Rwanda to the negotiating table to try and resolve this conflict through a political means. So we're waiting to hear what the president is going to say about this. Richard?
Chris, speaking of dialogue, the East African Community Chair, William Ruto, indicated that the DRC and Rwandan presidents had agreed to a meeting set for tomorrow. What are you hearing on this?
Well, there was a tweet by some Congolese officials close to people in the president's office who said that they had spoken to the spokesperson of the president, Tina Salama, and she said that President Felix Tshisekedi heard about what President William Ruto said, but he declined to attend that extraordinary summit that has been called by the leaders of the East African Community Regional Bloc. He said he acknowledges the initiative of trying to resolve this dispute peacefully, and he encourages the leaders from the East African community to call for dialogue. But considering the situation in Eastern DRC and what is happening, he'd rather stay here in his country and try and resolve this problem. So he's unlikely to go there, from what we have heard by the people who have spoken to officials close to the president's office. But there are a number of initiatives. The African Union is set to hold a meeting, a crisis emergency meeting today, to try and resolve this conflict before it escalates into a full-blown war between the DRC and Rwanda. Richard?
All right, excellent reporting. Chris Ochamuringa in Kinshasa, thanks for that. Meanwhile, Congolese President Felix Tshisekedi has met with constitutional body heads in Kinshasa to discuss restoring authority and humanitarian issues in Goma. And that's according to National Assembly Speaker Vital Kamerhe, who was also present at the Monday meeting. The DRC is facing the worst escalation of a conflict that has run for decades. In recent weeks, M23 rebels made rapid gains in eastern DRC's North Kivu province before closing in on Goma.
Nous avons exploré les voies et moyens.
Not a single inch of the Congolese territory will be given up to the enemies of the Congolese people. The President of the Republic, Felix Antoine Tshisekedi, remains intransigent in this matter. On January 27, 2025, an interinstitutional meeting was held by the head of state at his office in the African Union city and was devoted to the situation in the east of the country, while the armed forces of the Democratic Republic of the Congo foiled an attempt to take the city of Goma by the M23 terrorists supported by the army of Rwanda.
Well, there were reports that Congolese civilians and some surrendering troops were crossing into Rwanda to Rubavu. Let's cross to Kigali, where Ethan Tashobia is standing by. Ethan, welcome to the program. Thank you as well for joining us here on Africa Live. Now, what is the latest from Rubavu, and how much can you tell us about the alleged shelling from the DRC side?
Richard, like Chris mentioned, the situation that is in Kinshasa is more or less similar to what is especially in Gisenyi. But yesterday it was tense. There were shellings from the Congolese side, DRC, attributed to FDR, the armed element that is in collaboration with the Congolese forces. Yesterday it was intense. 17 people died, several dozens injured on the Rwandan side. But Rwanda activated its air defense system, and it was able to intercept a number of shellings that were coming from the DRC side. Today morning, the situation is a bit calm. The schools have opened. Shops are continuing as they're supposed to be, as they were before the shelling came in. But yesterday, the situation was bad. Today, the situation is a little bit calm. Maybe to tell you where I am right now, I'm standing right outside Kigali International Airport. MONUSCO staff that were evacuated from Goma and came to Kigali yesterday right now are expected to fly to different destinations, countries of their origin from Kigali International Airport this afternoon. But that remains to be confirmed, because there are confirmations rather that should be coming from the MONUSCO headquarters in Kinshasa, allowing MONUSCO staff to fly to different countries of their origin. But that is the situation. I have gathered that Kigali International Airport is ready to facilitate MONUSCO staff to be evacuated, and those who actually left Goma through Rwanda are expected to fly to their different respective countries right from here at Kigali International Airport.
All right, Ethan, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Chris a while ago. What are you hearing about tomorrow's expected emergency summit called by EAC Chairman William Ruto, and has Rwanda confirmed attendance?
So what I've heard is that Rwanda was ready to attend, considering that the relationship, especially between Rwanda and Kenya, has been said that is good, and the conversation is between President Ruto and President Kagame was sort of positive, and there was an expectation that President Kagame and President Tshisekedi would attend and restore the negotiation talks that were stalled before the decline of Rwanda attending the Rwanda process in Angola. But now there was an expectation that these three heads of state would meet and other East African heads of state. But now with reports from Kinshasa saying that President Tshisekedi is not attending, we are yet to hear from the government of Rwanda if President Kagame is going to be attending the East African heads of state summit. But there was positivity from Kigali that the Rwandan president was going to attend the East African heads of state summit. But now with what we're hearing from Kinshasa, we are yet to confirm if that is going to continue as it was planned.